President of the United States?
That is a good question, and I think we all should be asking, why is this happening to a city that was turning itself around and will continue to do so? This should not be happening.
This right here is another episode of You Get What You Vote For, this time New York City style.
We support asylum seekers, non-school grounds. You support asylum.
Who are they?
Families who fled war.
They're not families.
They're not families?
No, they're men.
Men coming in.
Okay.
They're all individual
Why
men.
are they fleeing?
And they can come and go
Why
as they
are they
please.
fleeing?
But
And
they
this is
shouldn't
a
be near
school.
the
Have you found out why
This
they're
is a
fleeing?
school. Why is there school safety in school? Why do we need school safety
But
officers?
why are they unsafe?
Why do we
Do
need
you have a
school
criminal
officers?
record? Do you have proof of a criminal record?
How about you call the mayor and say you want to have them to live in your house?
Sure.
Good. Get a name and send them to the
What
mayor.
is this fear?
Because this,
What
it's
is-
not fear.
It's fear. This is fear-based.
This is
You
not
don't have a
fear-based.
record.
You really got to look into the law, into what's permissible, and not use our schools, a place of education.
I guess you guys can see that Democrats can be a little bit on the racist side as well, white liberal style, which, by the way, is probably the worst kind, if you ask me. Especially the suburban types who now see that immigration is obviously a problem. So what's the old saying? The best way to red pill a Democrat or the best way to red pill a liberal or somebody in the echo chamber is simply to give them what they want. If you do that, they will show you who the hell they really and truly are at heart. So after years of practically saying we want all these illegals to come to our city, and of course years of saying that you're safe in our city and that we are a sanctuary city, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has decided to say, you know what, man, we've had enough of this. We don't want any more of this sanctuary city business. Then again, though, I called this back, I think, in 2019 when Donald Trump basically told Congress to get back to work on the immigration issue. And, of course, Nervous Nancy, she did not want to do anything about that. And then Trump, of course, basically said, look, if you want these illegals so bad, I'll send them to your cities. And, of course, those who were the mayors of the sanctuary cities said, no, we don't want them. Hold up on that, of course, with the exception of Lori Lightfoot, who thought it would be advantageous for her politically to accept people in. She wanted to look very, very woke and very, very virtuous. But, of course, as I explained in this video here, I will be leaving in the description box, as well as many videos that I've done on this topic, especially in regards to Chicago. That wasn't exactly the case. She was obviously doing it for political points, and you're starting to see how people really and truly function. So the story is this right here. In the city of New York, they're trying to move. And by the way, this story gets a lot worse. This video is going to be very, very, very heavily clips-based because there's a lot of news reports to get through. So basically, there's this school and there's this gym, and they're trying to put more migrants in these facilities. So basically, what's happened is that the people in the neighborhood, they're not exactly, how do I say, down with that, if you guys know what I mean. They're not exactly happy with that now that they're seeing that their resources are being taken from them and basically given to somebody else who, of course, is not exactly American. Wow, that sounds really, quite frankly, that sounds like these people are suddenly America first. That sounds like these people are just a bunch of Trump voters all of a sudden. It's very, very weird. Take a look for yourself. About 4 minutes.
Well, James, this is to house migrants that are flooding right into New York City.
And that's prompting a strong response from many parents. We just talked to Mayor Adams about this.
Yeah.
Lizette Nunez has more from Williamsburg this morning. Lizette, what's going on?
Hey, good morning, ladies. And a rally is underway right now in Williamsburg. We've seen parents, we've also seen students, grandparents. We do have a second camera going around at this rally. It is taking place right outside the gymnasium. You might be able to hear, okay, you're taking a look right now. Looks like there are some students going around with signs out here as well. From talking to some parents, also grandparents, I've been hearing here on the ground that some parents did not bring their children to school today, whether that was in protest to the migrants being housed here at this school gymnasium. It's still unclear, but once again, we are taking a look at students, parents, grandparents. They've been walking outside these two Williamsburg to public schools. Now, we also learned this morning that about 20 migrants, they were being housed inside this gymnasium, but around 2 o'clock in the morning, they did bust them out. From our understanding is that right now there is currently no migrants staying at this gym, but it's still unclear whether or not there are any other plans to bring migrants back.
I don't mind giving a helping hand, but when it interferes with the education of our students, yes, I do care.
Families in Williamsburg are outraged after learning that asylum seekers will be moved into the gym shared by both PS-17 and MS-577.
Protect your gym. You shut your gym down.
Parents say they received an email Sunday night that the standalone gym will temporarily house migrants.
The email didn't really say much. I know the kids are going to lose their gym. They're not going to be able to come outside and play. It's just frustration.
Parents say they were given no notice of how many migrants will be coming and for how long they will be staying. For now, the recently renovated gym is off limits. The kids will effectively be under a lockdown during recess.
They waited like 2 years for the gym to get built and to come outside, or winter locked up in the school.
Other schools have also been impacted by the migrant crisis. In Coney Island, the gymnasium at PS 188 has been converted into a temporary shelter for adult asylum seekers.
And let's be clear on the plan with the school gyms. These are 20 self-standing gyms that currently is on our list of potential locations. We have not identified that this is going to happen. This is not every school gym.
They plan on hosting a family forum at around 5:30 this afternoon. That will be inside the PS-17 cafeteria to discuss the ongoing situation here as far as housing migrants inside the school gymnasium. Now, we do once again want to get to that second camera that has been going around. That has been our photographer, Al, has been following some of these families. We're talking students, grandparents, parents that have been outraged. They've been expressing that throughout the morning, say they just don't feel comfortable with housing migrants inside school gymnasiums. They have brought up different reasons, whether that is safety. They just don't want their children to potentially be exposed, or, they just want to make sure that their children are okay and they feel safe in this kind of environment. So we will be standing by here, continue to keep you updated throughout the morning. And of course, we'll be talking to some of those parents as well. That's the latest here from Williamsburg. Roseanne and Bianca will send things back.
Thank you. And where do the migrants shower? Where,
it's a lot of unanswered
there's a
questions.
lot of unanswered questions, Lizette, right?
Yeah, there is. It's still unclear. I did walk past the gymnasium, but I got to tell you, it was pretty small. I'm not so sure if they do have showers in there, but it is a small place. So we did hear that there are cots still set up there, despite them already moving the 20 migrants overnight. They still have cots set up. So that begs the question whether or not they have any other plans to continue bringing them here.
Well, they had showers, they had PlayStations, they had washers and dryers at Randall's Island, but we took that down and put it up.
Well, the mayor
quite
was
quickly.
just on. He talked about that may be back on the table.
Yeah.
And he kept emphasizing that these school gyms were freestanding gyms, not attached to the school building. Regardless, you're taking away a gym from the kids.
I understand it.
It's to me like New York City just turned into a crap hole full of America First Trump supporting bigots. I mean, it's not so fun when they're like taking up things that you use every day, like gyms and school property and all that stuff there. But then again, though, you voted for it because you wanted to be virtuous and you wanted to be woke and you wanted to care about everybody else in the world. You wanted to care about these people. You know what I think you should have done? Maybe you should have just like invited them in your homes to stay with you. I mean, really. I mean, you love and you care for these people so much. Why don't you just bring them into your homes? Why not that? Oh, wait, that's right. The white liberals, the white suburban Democrats are once again showing you who they are. And it's all just one great big giant virtue signal because they don't have to deal with this issue until now. You see, there's something, I'm probably going to bring this up again, but if you live in a border state like, say, Arizona, or if you live in a place like, say, New Mexico, or maybe if you watch someone like, say, Razor Fist, who I think is probably the personality we really need at the forefront of the conservative movement, in my opinion, if you want to appeal to working class personnel, rather than those suburban guys over at the Daily Wire who are just now getting on board with the protests, which, by the way, stems from Target, which they're just now getting a hold of, which has really been going on for about 2 or 3 years. But I'm pretty sure you guys get the point. Fact of the matter is these people who live in New York, who live in Chicago, who live in these very, very blue areas have never had to deal with this until now. They're just simply getting a taste of what people who live in border areas have to deal with on a regular basis. You know, neighborhoods being taken, certain amenities, gyms, certain facilities, schools, restaurants, all that stuff there. And of course, now you got to wait in line for somebody who's not really from America, and these people are actually starting to see this. So yes, it sounds very, very America first. The lady that you saw at the very beginning, the elderly lady who, by the way, I showed the other half of what she said, she's not lying. It puts a bigger burden really on those of lower income, okay? That's what it does when you do this. By the way, we have to remind people all the time that they are, in fact, being replaced, that they're being people of color. Hopefully there would be a red-pilling experience and maybe these people would stop voting Democrat, but typically it doesn't tend to happen that way. Typically in situations like this, the turnout goes down because a lot of people say, you know what, I just can't support this mess because you absolutely ruined my life. You could say, if you were a liberal when Donald Trump was in office, you could say that he ruined my psyche with his attitude or whatnot. But you can never say that he actually ruined your life when it comes to finances or gas prices. What the hell am I talking about? They live in New York. They're mostly relying on public transportation. But still at the same time, though, when a bunch of people get dumped into your neighborhood and they start taking up and start using your services and start using the things that your tax dollars pay for, after a while you're going to feel you're going to feel a certain way. Not to mention the fact that you're dealing with border states deal with all the time. And, of course, it actually gets worse. You see, during this entire ordeal, there was this hotel in New York upstate. I'm going to be playing 2 news reports back-to-back. One's from News Nation and one from ABC 7 New York. Yeah, they decided to kick a bunch of vets out of the hotel, and it's really going to anger you why they did that. Let's go ahead and roll it once again. About 4 minutes here. Make sure you guys watch it all the way through.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams bussed migrants out of the city to upstate New York. But we are monitoring a ripple effect tonight. A group representing homeless vets say veterans are now being kicked out of their hotel rooms to make room for the asylum seekers. News Nation's Kelsey Kernstein is covering this story for us. And Kelsey, you're learning this is all coming down to money.
Yeah, Natasha, it really is a mess. And according to reports, like you said, it is purely profit driven. So these hotels that take in asylum seekers as guests, they actually make at least $100 more per night. That is reported than they do housing our homeless veterans.
This weekend, more than 24 United States military veterans were kicked to the curb by hotels in suburban New York City after a busload of 60 migrants were sent to the town of Newburgh by New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
It is the irresponsibility of the Republican Party in Washington for refusing to do real immigration reform, and it's the irresponsibility of the White House for not addressing this problem. Brownsville, Texas, El Paso, Denver, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, we should not be burdened the weight of this problem.
The Crossroads Hotel in Newburgh is just one of several hotels reportedly booting homeless veterans to accommodate incoming migrants. It's reported these hotels make close to $190 a night housing migrants, compared to just $90 a night housing vets. State Assemblyman Brian Maher, a Republican who helps rep Orange County, said, shining a light on this is important because we need to make sure these hotels know how important it is to respect the service of our veterans before they kick them out of hotels to make room. Sharon Tony Finch, YIT CEO, addressed the issue with News Nation, saying, quote, many of our homeless veterans were informed that they had to leave their temporary housing. Thankfully, my team and I were able to scramble and find new temporary housing for these veterans. It wasn't just military veterans kicked out of their hotel rooms, but several wedding parties are reportedly scrambling to find new venues or canceling their wedding altogether after these same hotels chose to house migrants last minute.
1,000 asylum seekers who have arrived in the area since last spring.
Meanwhile, the town of Newburgh holding a meeting tonight to address migrants New York City has sent there on buses. An outrage after about 20 homeless veterans were forced to leave a hotel to make room for the immigrants.
Eyewitness News reporter Joe Torres is live in the town of Newburgh. Joe, again, 65,000 asylum seekers have been here. What to do now?
Well, Sade, we've been here in the town of Newburgh for most of the day and still no buses arriving from New York City here at this town of Newburgh hotel right along Route 300 here in Orange County. In fact, we talked to a sheriff's deputy about 40 minutes ago, picked his brain as to whether he's received any sort of alerts or advisories regarding the buses. He has said no indication as to if or when those buses will arrive here. But nonetheless, just inside the Ramada, there's a welcome sign for the migrants, and then there are numerous social service workers inside, ready and waiting. Joseph Brooks stood outside the Ramada in the town of Newburgh and worked his cellular flip phone. After a one-month stay at the Orange County Hotel, the 62-year-old retired food service worker suddenly needs a new place to sleep. He tried to rebook today, but workers told him there are no vacancies until December because asylum seekers from New York City are soon to arrive. What's next?
I gotta find me another hotel. You know, I was gonna try to get back here, but it's not happening.
Not far away at the Crossroads Hotel, some of the newly arrived migrants soaked up the midday sun, scrutinized their paperwork, and wondered where their journey would take them next. A lawsuit filed by Orange County leaders, guests, including some military veterans. Ridiculous, says Vietnam veteran Ronnie Yembras, who showed up to check on his brothers.
Could you imagine waking up in the morning for your coffee and you say, hey, we got to get out? And maybe the guy just found the room. Maybe he's been looking for a while. I just don't get it.
Back in the five boroughs, a public school gymnasium at PS 188 in Coney Island will now serve as a temporary emergency shelter for asylum seekers, joining the previously announced shelter plans at a former school on Staten Island. Preparations are now underway at two more schools as well. The detached gym in Coney Island will house about 75 migrants. They will not have access to the school, but that does little to ease the worries of anxious parents.
You mean as far as living?
Well, just for now.
And how temporary is this?
They don't really know. Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't think this is a good idea because it's inside of a school.
I asked the counties, to be helpful to us in identifying any sites. I mean, doesn't mean we're going there, but just let's look at the whole array of options that we have in the state of New York.
Now, Governor Hochul acknowledged the lack of communication between the involved parties here, the state, the county, the city, she says has contributed to what she called the contentiousness surrounding this humanitarian crisis. Also, we should point out, she said she's yet to receive any word from the Biden administration about possibly using federal space like Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn as a site, a large-scale site for the asylum seekers. She says that.
As a veteran myself, you would think that I am angered by this, and I actually am angered by this. I don't like to come on YouTube, even though I understand that it will get me more views, it will get me more clicks if I just start screaming and hollering and raging at my my camera phone, or if I rage at my computer, or if I rage at my iPad. I understand that it could possibly do that because of the way the algorithm works, but still at the same time, though, I don't want to do that. I typically tend to get upset off screen. That's one of the main reasons why when I get these reports and I get a little bit angry about it, I choose to vent right then and there, give myself a little bit, try to kind of calm down a little bit. You figure as a veteran, I obviously would be pissed off by this. Like I said before, I am upset about this, especially given the fact that you saw the rate for vets is much, much lower and that they can make more money if they take migrants in. You figure everybody in that state would be upset. You figure everybody in that area would be pissed off. But then again, though, this is kind of sort of what the majority of people kind of voted for, not trying to bash anybody in New York State. I went there back in September. Great place to go at. And I understand that not everybody is like it. As a matter of fact, once you get north of Goshen, you actually run into a lot of, believe it or not, Trump signs. It's mostly the city that's very liberal. And obviously, as you guys can tell, those who are living outside the city and upstate, they're beginning to suffer as a result of this. They're paying for what you are seeing right now. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. And obviously, Eric Adams has decided to say, look, man, no more sanctuary city status. But then again, though, I can promise you, come next year, he's probably going to be singing a different tune. So I don't believe him when he says, where's the president at? Or why are Republican governors doing this? I hate to tell you this, Eric, but Republican governors, they've been dealing with this issue for a while, buddy. They have been dealing with this for a long time. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of these liberal voters, especially these white liberal voters, probably thought to themselves that, yeah, this right here is going to be a problem that is going to belong to red states. And of course, red state governor said, you know, we got the power to send you to these places. And of course, you keep telling us that you want these migrants. So maybe we should make you live up to your own standards, because of course, we all know that those on the left, they love to make people right of center, or anybody right of far left. They kind of hold them to extremely ridiculous standards, unrealistic standards. Very, very weird how these people I showed you a little bit more right there. I showed you guys just a little bit more because I think it's time that we talk about the Powder Keg. Now, I've talked about Chicago a lot and the situation in that city and how it is that that is eventually going to turn into a powder keg, especially ridden with crime. You got to understand something real quick about a lot of these cities, okay? I brought up racial statistics, racial demographics in the states, and lo and behold, you'll see that New York has got like a relatively high black population. However, a large part of that black population is centered in its cities, mostly New York City itself. Same thing with Illinois and the city of Chicago. Mostly, of course, in like a state like, say, well, not really so much Georgia, but definitely the further south you get, the more small town, the more people of color you will run to in small towns. It's like I said, I don't think there's a racial issue going on here between black and white. I think it's mostly the cities. That's probably where a lot of this quote-unquote racism is occurring. And it occurred to me after doing some more research that I think the entire end-game goal of the whole wokeness thing is to eventually take over the cities. Take over the cities, run the cities in the ground with crime and whatnot, then federalize police and send them in. Eric Adams, I don't know what he's doing. Like I said before, it's very possible that he'll be changing his tune probably in about a year or so, because obviously the Democratic Party, you got the re-election, all that stuff there. And I personally still don't believe Joe Biden's going to be their nominee. I still believe that there's somebody they're going to shoehorn Kamala Harris in there and run on the whole white man bad thing, because they've already started up the white supremacy shtick, all that stuff there. I'll be leaving the video that I did on Patriot Front in the description box. I put on a short time of prepping. Fact of the matter is that they're running this angle, and what they don't seem to realize is that the cities are actually pretty well segregated by neighborhoods. All right, so when you start bringing in people who actually are going to be thrust upon another group, there's probably going to be some issues, especially given the fact that blacks typically don't tend to get along with Hispanics, especially Hispanics that are coming over that don't speak English, because most of these people are not speaking English right now. That's not meant to be a knock. I'm just telling you that you're importing them from South America and Mexico. And as I explained in the video that I did on the Walking Dead drug, we have liberal mayors who are not helping the situation out, but you could also still hold Mexico accountable to a certain degree. Go fix your own country, go fix your own place. They're not wanting to do that because we have very, very stupid leadership in this country, or we have extremely nefarious leadership. I'm going to go with the last, because they're definitely stupid, conniving, and evil, all three at the same time. Like I've said before, you have an administration full of flunkies who are intending to actually screw the country up because that is their overall goal. However, they have a tendency to screw up their own screw-up. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that the idea here was to try to bring in more voters that would vote Democrat and possibly change the makeup of the country, and in turn, they would be replacing an entire race of people. I put the card at the beginning of black placement there. You got to watch the way you say that on YouTube as well. But I put that in there so that way you guys could see that it's not white people who are being replaced. It's actually those of color. I've been saying that for a while, and I hope you guys will go check that out and at least see what I have to say on that, because I do provide some receipts. I do provide some very interesting queries on that. The fact of the matter is that they want to replace people of color, and not just in the voter role, but also at the same time in the workforce itself. It was Styx Hexenhammer who said that they wanted to create basically a serf class. So basically the idea is that you bring in a lot more illegals, and next thing you know, what happens is that they're working these jobs at a much, much cheaper rate. You're practically creating a serf class that will continue to vote Democrat for the rest of its life. And you're also taking advantage of them while they don't know English, which, by the way, will take them years to learn, and years to learn how our political system works. That's practically what's going on. And as a result of this, black voters are being left out in the cold. As I have said on multiple occasions, black voters are simply a tool that the Democratic Party uses to get power, because they know that regardless of how much you red pill them, they're still going to go out there and vote Democrat anyways. However, there has been an emergence, and I'm pretty sure you guys know about it. 2016, black voters, 8% went to Donald Trump. That was up from 4% from Mitt Romney. It went up to 11%, but yet it was double the overall vote in 2008 and 2020. And this past midterm cycle, it went 13%. It's mostly black males. Now, there's a theory for conservatives, for Republican politicians, that if you can't win a certain amount of women, that being roughly 44%, with the normal male vote that you get, that you can't win elections nationally. I'm here to tell you right now that that number exists because typically males tend to go roughly 60% to the GOP. However, if you're increasing the black male vote and the Hispanic male vote, what happens as a result of this is that you end up increasing that number from like 62% to like 67 or 68%. And then when you factor in married women and you factor in the fact that white women, what was it, 52% in 2016, then 54% white women at 55, 56, who, by the way, tend to be more on the married side. If you can increase that number to 57% with a certain chunk of the African-American vote and a certain chunk of the Hispanic vote, you can, in fact, still win national elections if you are the Republican. So while it is that I've been spending time trying to red and black pill you to a certain degree, and I don't mean to black pill you, I'm giving you guys a white pill. It's not exactly impossible to overcome. Fact of the matter is that they're trying to create a serf class. That's what they're wanting to do. They're trying to push people out, and they don't care if they're homeless veterans or active duty, or if they're veterans who are on vacation. They're pushing them out, and they're obviously prioritizing these people, and people are beginning to get sick and tired of it. And as I said before, maybe these people are beginning to get red pilled, but I would not say that they're going to suddenly turn to the conservative side. The way I think about it is this right here. These people are just going to be angry that their lives got completely screwed up, and they more than likely just won't support the next person. However, that does not mean that they're suddenly being red-pilled and coming over to the right. Fact of the matter is, this right here is a moral ras that the Democratic Party has created and made 10 times worse for the whole hope of creating brand new voters. But in turn, what they may do is just simply create more crime and make them less desirable to vote for in the future. I've spoken about this on multiple occasions. I brought up the fact that the Democratic National Convention is being held in 2024 in the city of Chicago, which, by the way, we have already imported so many immigrants. With an extremely woke mayor there, you are basically begging for chaos, especially if there's any historical indication on that city when it comes to Democrats. Just figure I'd throw that out there. And apparently New York City, which, by the way, has been going down this road for a while, is about to get the exact same treatment. Guys, John Claymore, if you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. Also, one more thing, too. If I have earned your subscription, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the notifications bell so that way you guys know when the videos come out. I will try to put a third video out tomorrow. What I may do is go ahead and go to 2 videos a day all the way through every day, meaning Saturday and Sunday. We're not sure there yet. The 1,000 subscribers video is coming out soon as well. Make sure you guys stick around for those, and I'll see you guys later.